Any questions about the book?
You have actually four questions.
You do? You said random questions, then you removed three of
Well,
them.
these were yes.
Oh.
You can also ask. You just tell the question, Adam. There was one that Peter had for Luciano.
It was what?
There was a question that Peter had for Luciano.
How'd you like it?
That was planned. That's it. I hope you guys dug it. And it's been nice. It's been really lovely. And have a good night.
By all means, Luch.
What's that?
There's a question for you.
Oh, a question for me, sure.
Why are all the good Italian restaurants accepting cash only?
That's a stopper, man. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
Because it's a lot harder to launder a credit card.
Yeah, dude, because they get 10,000 in and they claim 2.
Oh, this is a good one.
Hey, Evan, jump in here anytime. How did your work as a clerk in Kings County Supreme Court prepare you for a life of writing? Well, for one thing, it's absolutely amazing for dialogue. It is priceless for dialogue. You should, if you want to write and you want to write any kind of realistic fiction, not just crime fiction, you should go down to the courthouse and just sit in the courtrooms. And I would say the best place to go is criminal court arraignment parts, because you'll see 75 or 80 cases in 3 or 4 hours, and that's where you'll really get the meat of it. I wrote a very short essay a couple of years ago about something called 71031A statements, which are the excited utterances when somebody gets locked up before they get read their rights. And so you'll wind up having somebody in a courthouse, standing up there and, saying, this is my client, and he's this wonderful guy, and he did this, and this. And then the judge will turn to this, brand new wet behind the ears ADA and say 71031A, and she'll say, he really pissed me off, so I stabbed him. Because it's the first thing that somebody says when you grab them and lock them up and throw the handcuffs on them before they kind of realize what's going on. So when you get a whole litany of statements that people are reading into the public record, like, I'm drinking and pissing, what does it look like? Don't you have anything better to do? It's really an insight into people's souls.
All right, so I think that we're ready to start. We're going to bring it up a little bit, and then Tim is going to read, and then we're going to bring it down, bring it home, and then we'll do a song for you guys as well. So, hope you guys enjoy this. It's a piece called Indigenous.
my mother dead on the kitchen floor, the first thing I thought was how different everything would be if I hadn't gone back to get my handcuffs. Selfish, I know, but I hadn't had a roofing job in a month, and I'd broken another tooth last Thursday. I was hurting all the time, and I really missed having a dental plan. She was halfway under the kitchen table, on her back. It seemed like she was looking out the window. She must have been up and about for a while when it happened. She had today's Post open on the table, and there were 2 cigarette butts in the ashtray, smoked so thoroughly to the filters that they looked like earplugs. 1 piece of dark toast remained on her plate, and I could smell the whiskey in the dregs of her tea. I'd had a rough night and slept late. If there had been anything to hear, I hadn't heard it. I hope there wasn't. The day's mail was next to her plate, and I recognized the green ink on the return address of the window pane envelope on top. I took her Social Security check and folded it and put it in my pocket. Julio would open the liquor store at noon, and he would cash it, as he always did. I looked around the room. I was born here 39 years ago. I grew up here, then moved out and got a job and got married and got fired and got divorced and moved back. It seemed like there should be more to it than that, but really there wasn't. The small white octagonal tiles of the floor were identical to the flooring in the bar at the Knights of Columbus on Van Brunt Street, where my parents held my christening party and where I had my wedding reception. The Knights folded about 6 months ago, unable to keep up with the mounting rents in Red Hook. I would have to move now, too. The lease was in my mother's name, and ours was the last rent-controlled apartment in the building. The landlord had already gotten most of the blacks and Puerto Ricans and Old Irish out, and was stocking the place with yuppies. Manhattan people, we called them, or just the new people. I left then, went down 3 flights and hit the street and walked. In the summer of 1993, I graduated from the police academy. That night, about 20 of us wound up in Coney Island, pretty drunk by 2 in the morning. It seemed funny. I handcuffed the ride operator to his ticket booth, and we hijacked the Wonder Wheel. We let the pretty girls ride free and stopped and started it when we felt like it, and someone brought more beer. When they caught us, there was a lot of press. Somebody had to swing. The rest of my friends almost had their 20 in now, and they were all living upstate or in Jersey. I'd gone back for my handcuffs. I stepped into the new place where the Knights had been. It was unbearably bright. They had just opened, and the only people there were the bartender and a couple having coffee at the bar. The room was newly painted and scrubbed clean and smelled of polyurethane instead of beer. I ordered a drink and remembered standing outside with the old-timers a few years ago, laughing at the city road crew as they painted a double yellow line down the street for the first time. "Where are you from?" the bartender asked. He was young and fit. He looked intelligent. He looked like he had sex with attractive women. He looked like he had a future. There must be a word, I thought, a way to tell him. I was angry suddenly. I wanted to smack him just for talking to me, just for being in this place. I wanted to smack him for the plants in the window and the missing jukebox and the flat-screen television and the $6 beer. And I felt ashamed. My mother was dead on the floor, and I was back in a bar. Now I spent my last $6. My tongue kept cutting itself on the new broken tooth, and it hurt. I felt like I couldn't talk. "You okay, dude?" he asked. "Standing still," I said. "What?" "Not moving," I said. I felt dizzy, and the words weren't coming out right. I was starting to cry. I wiped my eyes and saw the thick black lines of grime under my fingernails and looked away, down at the polished wood floor where the white octagonal tiles had been. I thought about the blacks and the Puerto Ricans and the Italians and the fights and the parties, and how when we were kids we would play along the pier on the corner at Erie Basin, pretending we were Indians watching the first white men arrive. I was sobbing now, and my head hurt. The couple with coffee was looking at me, and I didn't care. "From here," I screamed, "I'm from here!"
Tim. Thank you, Cinema Cinema. Such an awesome reading song thing. And now we have Cinema Cinema doing our last song for the night. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thanks to everyone who performed. Thank you Tim, for Brooklyn Noir and Luciano and Chris Niles. Our next show is going to be in Park Slope. I'm going to be coming around with a tip jar thingy and an email list and Cinema Cinema. Woo!